Sanibonani bafethu. Today we're doing number patterns, right? Okay, so yeah, this is going to be, we're gonna do question 1 and question 4. It's based on linear patterns and quadratic number patterns. Now, first things first, please guys, ngicela to change your mindset, and I need you to be in your positive state right now, right? Because now maths, once you try to fall in love with the subject, it will fall in love with you. Now let us try to solve these questions. Now, question 3, it's talking about ikhuluma linear patterns, ne? And I don't know if you still remember back in grade 10. Back in grade 10, we only did linear patterns, right? And then now in grade 11, there's some things that they've few introduced. Yeah, there's minor things that have been introduced, right? But before I do these questions, right? Sesenzelani, for the others who doesn't know what is going on, or maybe in grade 10 they didn't understand what was happening. But don't worry, I'm going to try to explain. Right. Okay. Now, what are we talking about uma sesikhuluma ngani ngama-linear? Okay. Now, here are the important things that you need to know about linear patterns, linear number patterns. Now, linear number patterns, the first difference must be constant. Ne? Okay, for sure. How? Manje kwenzakalani? What do I mean? Okay. Basically what I mean, let's say we have this number pattern. Ne? We have 2, we have 4, right? We have 6, and we have 8. So the first thing that you need to ask yourself, what if I see something, a word, especially in maths, into a difference, it has to do with minusing, angithi? So now, into kumele uqale uyibheke ukuthi, okay, since it has to talk about minusing, right? But the first difference must be constant. And yakhumbula, if you still remember, we had this called this T2 minus T1 is equals to T3 minus T2. Basically, it means that the term 2 minus term 1 is equals to term 3 minus term 2. Meaning, what is basically happening, ne? We're going to have this. And okay, so can you see that 2 is in position 1, 4 is in position 2, 6 is in position 3, 8 is in position 4. So now, in order to find our first difference, right, we have to minus our T2 minus T1. In this case, 4 is in position 2, 2 is in position 1. Ne? I hope I'm making sense. So what is 4 minus 2? 4 minus 2, you're going to get a 2, right? And then term number 3 minus term number 2, 6 minus 4, you're going to get a 2. T4 minus T3, you're going to get a 2, right? Can you see the witty now? This is constant, right? Because we're getting 2, getting 2, we're getting 2. Now, this is what we call our first difference. This is what we call our first difference. Now, our first difference, it must be constant, right? Immediately, if let's say you're solving a number pattern and you check what, okay, now, I'm a first difference, it is not constant, which means now it's going to lead us to quadratic, but I'm going to further explain that later. So when I just know that a linear equations, my first difference must be constant, right? And then you must also apply this. This is also very important because sometimes they might ask you to solve for x, and which this thing comes in very handy. So yes, okay, and then this is the formula again, where Tn is equals to a plus n minus 1, n minus 1 by D. Now, in this case, for those who still remember, there's nothing that I've actually changed. Yeah, there's nothing that I've actually changed. It's just that they introduced to us a formal way, right? So now, in this case, A represents what? Our first term, right? Meaning in this equation, not equation, man, in this pattern, right? In this pattern, which means now, if for your formula, okay, I'm just going to do this example, right? In this equation, A, what is our first term? Our first term is going to be 2. I hope niyayibona ke bafethu. That is going to be 2. Then what does N represent? N represents the position of the nth term, right? It represents, like, the position 1, the position 2, the position 3, it represents what? The position. Yeah? I hope it is making sense. And then now, what is D? D, it is our constant difference. Now, in this number pattern, what was our constant difference? It was 2. So which means you're going to multiply it with what? With 2. Now, this is our formula for this pattern. Yeah? But you can, for those of who want to simplify it even further, ningazama nje yabona to remove the brackets and multiply it out, right? It's still the same thing. You can either leave it here or you can simplify it, right? Now, this is what you need to know about your what? About your linear equations. Now, let us go back to the question. Now, we're going to do question 3.1.1. Now, and then now, but given the linear pattern 7, 2, and -3. And I prefer to write it down so I can, so we have negative and -3. Then it continues, right? Now, before starting with anything else, right? Before looking at the questions, first things first, you need to simplify the question on your own first, right? So, like as we did here, you need to make sure that the first difference must be constant. That's the first thing that I'm going to check, right? That's the first thing that you need to check. So we're going to come here to our first difference. We're trying to see what is our first difference constant, right? So now, okay, so now, since now we found our constant difference, now we need to remember this. Term number 2 minus T1 is equals to T3 minus T2. So in this case, we have -5, right? So this is going to be our what? Our first difference, right? This is our first difference because we are talking about linear number patterns. Now, let us try now to solve 3.1.1. So now they say determine the general term Tn of the linear pattern. Now, here's the thing that you need to note. Sometimes they say determine the general term. Sometimes they say determine the expression of the term Tn. So you need to note these words, general term and expression. Usually when they say that, they ask you to find the formula, right? They're going to want you to find the formula. So now let us try to find our formula. So you go back. So this is our formula. Tn is equals to A plus N minus 1 multiplied by D. Okay. So now we're going to go now. Tn is equals to, now what is A? Remember, A, it is what? A, it is our first term, right? A is equals to the first term. Now, what is the number that is on the, what is the number icalayo vele vele? Inumber icalayo izoba ubani? Izoba u7, right? So it's going to be 7 plus, and then it is going to be n, right? Here we write n if they want the formula. But let's say sometimes bangasho ukuthi, okay, now for example, the question elandelayo, but you're going to understand it when we do the second question. So it's going to be -1, and then what does D represent? Our constant difference, which means you're going to multiply it with what? With negative 5. Okay, and then there you have your formula, but let us simplify it. So we're going to have, then you're going to have 7 plus 5 minus 5 minus 5n minus 5 minus 5n. So what is 7 plus 5? 7 plus 5 is going to be 12. And then we're going to have minus 5n. Okay, and then this is your new equation, or if you want to write it nicely, you're going to have negative 5n plus 12. Negative 5n plus 12. That is our new. Now we're going to move on to 3.1.2. Now 3.1.2, it says that calculate the value of T20, meaning they want the value of the 20th term. Now I'm going to write down my formula. My formula was Tn is equals to negative 5n plus 12. This was my formula. Now, meaning that they're looking for the value that it is in the 20th position. So in this case, what are we looking for? We're looking for Tn, right? So which will be equals to, you're just going to substitute. So it's going to be negative 5. And then remember, what does n represent? N represent the position of the nth term, right? N represents the position. So what value are they looking for? They're looking for the value that is in what? The 20th position. So I'm going to write 20, and then uzoplasa 12 young 12, and then you're gonna put it straight into your calculator. So we're going to add minus 5 multiplied by 20 plus 12 izosigaya negative 88. It's going to give us negative 88. Uthole 2 marks yakho yamahala. Then we move on to the next question. Now, lana bathi which term in the pattern has a value, right? Has a value of what? Has a value of negative 138. So now this was our, so 3.1.3, this was our formula, right? It was negative 5n plus 12. Yeah? So now lana they want our value. Now in this case, this number here, it represents our Tn, because now once they say which term, what are they looking for? In other words, they're looking for what? For the position, meaning they're saying what? Okay, which position will we find a value of negative 138? Will it be in position 9, position 5? So we're going to substitute. So this is now negative 138 is equals to, and then we're going to have negative 5n. Going to have negative 5n. Masqeda, we're going to what? We're going to 130. We're going to transpose now. We're going to transpose our positive 12. So in this case, izoba njani? Izoba negative. Salangani, or negative 5n, right? Then you can guess, Mascot, what is the next step? We're going to solve for n. So answer is going to be equals to negative 150. Masiceda sizowenzani? Divide by 5. Angithi what you do on your right hand side, you must do on your left hand side, right? So in this case, you must divide by negative 5. Sorry, you must divide by negative 5 because you're solving for n. So n will be equals to negative into negative is going to be a positive. 5 into 15 it's going to be a 3, and then we're going to have 0. Now, meaning that, so you see we got our answer as 30. Yeah, so my lento is isitshela now in position 30, right? We're going to get a value of negative 138. We can try it with our calculator just to check. Right, so here's our calculator, né? And we're gonna try to now use our what you call this, our calculator. So you're gonna go to your formula. So our formula was negative 5, and then n we got what? N we got 30. So it is very wise to just double check your answer, to check if it's going to give you the very same answer. We get negative 138. So our answer is what? That is correct. Now we move on to 3.2. Angazi why ngibhale 3.9.4, but we move on to 3.2. Now 3.2 bathi 6, 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 1 are the first 3 terms of the linear pattern. Asicale sime lapho nje. So sizoba no 6, ne? Let me do this, okay? Sizoba no 6, then we're gonna have 2x plus 1. So now these are our what? These are our first 3 terms, right? And note they say that of a what? Of a linear pattern, right? So ngiyacela, don't stress mawufika lana ungastress uthi manje kwenzakala na. Relax. So what we're doing, it's still the very same thing. Yabona. So into sizoyenza, ungasikhathazeki nje wena. Thola what? Find your first difference. Then I need to find your first difference. So we're going to try to find our first difference in this case. Ne? What am I doing? Okay. Yeah, because that is one term, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to minus 2x plus 1 with 6, right? So this, I'm going to do it la ngaphansi. So we're going to have 2x, we're going to have plus 1, right? And then we're going to have minus 6, right? So we're going to have 2x, then we're going to have, what is 1 minus 6? You're going to get negative 5. Going to get a negative 5. Okay, so we're going to have 2x. Now we're going to have 2x minus 5, right? And then we're going to do the very same thing. Now this is term number 3. This thing, guys, this thing is one term. This thing is one term. So this thing, it's on position 3, and 2x plus 1 is in position 2. So you're gonna minus t3 minus t2 to get the answer for here. So what are we going to do? This is what we're going to do, right? This is what you're going to do. You're gonna say, okay, no 3x minus 3 uzothola bani? Uzothi minus bani? Your 2x plus 1, right? So it's going to be 2x plus 1. So it's going to be 2x plus 1, right? So what is going to be our final answer? So we're going to say 3x minus 3, then we negative into a positive. It is a negative. 1 times 2 is equals to 2x. And we're going to have negative and a positive. It's a negative. 1 times 1, it's going to be 1. Then we're going to put them in nice order. So we're going to have 3x minus 2x minus 3 minus 1. Alright, so what is 3 minus 2? You're gonna have x. Then what is negative 3 minus 1? You're going to have negative 4. Now, meaning here we're going to have 3. You're going to have x minus 4. Now this is our first difference. Yeah, this is our first difference. Now remember, now I was talking about that the equation that I said it was very important. There's somewhere where it's going to play in handy. This one, T2 minus T1 is equals to T3 minus T2. Manje sizosebenzisa yona ke manje khona la. So what are we going to do? This is what we're going to say, ne? After finding your first difference, so now what are we looking for? We are looking for x, right? So what are we going to say? We're going to say x, right? Okay, maybe not say 2x. I'm going to say x minus 4. So it's x minus 4 is equals to 2x minus 5. I don't know if you see what happened now, right? And then from here, what you're going to do, it's simple, guys. You're going to solve for x. Maqeda uyabangena ke manje. Uzothi x, then uzothi minus 2x. Then mawufuna ukuphosa, if you want to do it on your own, it's fine. Then you're going to have uzoba na negative 5 plus 4. Then you're going to have 1 minus 2. So if you have 1 minus 2, it's 0 negative x, right? Which will be equals to, then you have negative 5 plus 4, which is going to give you negative 1, right? Which is going to give you negative 1. Then since we're solving for x, you're going to divide by negative 1. You're going to divide by negative 1. Don't forget there's an invisible 1. The coefficient of x, it is invisible 1. So negative into negative gives us a positive. So therefore, x is equals to negative into negative, positive 1 divided by 1 is equals to 1. Right? We have found x. So now if you want to, you can substitute wherever you see x. It will give you, like, substitute wherever you see x, you put in 1, and then now you're gonna have a nice clean number pattern. Okay guys, I don't want this video to be long, so please guys, I'm going to do this question 4 on a new video. Okay.